Hello and welcome to Guns and Gear. And this is sort of like a part two to my 10 millimeter handguns, but specifically I wanted to talk about the 10 millimeter cartridge today. And not only is it my favorite, but I would like to make the case that it quite possibly is the perfect pistol cartridge. Okay? Now, like I talked about earlier, I became aware of the 10 millimeter with the brand 10. And I tell you what, it was early 90s. I'm not sure when it was developed. I know it was the early 80s. And it wasn't long after that I started to see some magazine articles and to learn a little bit about the 10 millimeter. And like I said in the prior video, I became a quick fan even before I shot the gun, just by purely the ballistics that gun boasted. Now, there has been several videos about 10 millimeters and stuff on YouTube. I am not by far the first or the best or the most knowledgeable, but I'm going to share with you what I know about the cartridge and what some of my opinions are. Now, when the cartridge first came out, I know that there's been some other guys that were talking about other ammunition that was the first ammunition. Well, Norma was the first ammunition that I could find back in the 80s. Okay, and I started buying this ammunition as much as I could afford, probably a year, 18 months before I ever got my first 10 millimeter, which was this Delta Elite right here by Colt. And this happens to be a box of that. And look, let me show you. At the time, this was not cheap. Okay, I don't know if that's going to clear up or not, but this was a rather expensive ammo, and if you know anything about production ammo, Norma, they make good cartridges, and they are proud of them. They charge a premium price. Now, the Colt 10 millimeter in its original ballistics, this would be the original ballistics. It was a 170 grain bullet, and here is some of the ballistics that it boasted. Okay, there you go. 1,300 feet per second and 636 foot-pounds of energy. Now, for those folks that reload or follow ballistics of cartridges, for a handgun cartridge, a pistol cartridge at that, that's pretty amazing. And here's the jacketed hollow point that represents that normal round. Now, to give you a bit of a understanding on how it stacks up with some of the other cartridges, right here I have 4 DPX rounds, which is an excellent handgun defense round. All right, it's made by Corbon, and go over some of the ballistics and show you a comparison of the same type of bullet in 4 different chamberings. The other 3 chamberings will be the most popular self-defense chamberings: 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson, and 45 ACP. All right, first the 9mm. Now, as you can see, this is a 9mm. It's a 115 grain bullet, and it has a 1,250 feet per second velocity with 399 foot-pounds of energy. Okay. And to give you another comparison, I did bring out this right here. This is the Spear Gold Dot. This is 124 grain plus P chambering. It is my understanding that this is the most popular 9mm used with law enforcement. And the ballistics that it boasts is 1,220 feet per second with 410 pounds of foot-pounds of energy. Now, at 100 yards, this 9mm loading is 996 feet per second with only 273 foot-pounds of energy. So it loses its energy rather quickly. Now, next up is the 40 Smith & Wesson. Now, the 40 Smith & Wesson owes its very existence to the 10mm. Okay, without the 10mm, there never would have been this 40 Smith & Wesson, and I began to talk about that in the last video, but I'll go into a little bit more detail. Because the FBI had adopted the 10mm round, and later found out that their agents weren't able to control the gun, and didn't like the fact that it was a big gun and it was hard for them to hold on to. They used Smith & Wesson 1076 model, and it's my understanding they later even tried some Colt Delta Elites. Smith & Wesson saw this as an opportunity. They had already began to download the 10mm to make it a little bit more controllable. And so what Smith & Wesson did was reduce the size of the casing and use those same FBI light type of ballistics, and created a cartridge that would fit in a 9mm size handgun. Okay, and that was the purpose for it. And the result was the 40 Smith & Wesson. Okay, to give you some of the ballistics of the 40 Smith & Wesson and the DPX, it is a 140 grain bullet. It travels at 1,200 feet per second, and it has 448 foot-pounds of energy. Okay. Now, again, as another look, here is the Speer Gold Dot, another very popular round with law enforcement. This Speer Gold Dot is 180 grain, and it has 1,025 feet per second velocity with only 420 foot-pounds of energy. And at 100 yards, 902 feet per second with only 325 foot-pounds of energy. So what you will notice is when I start talking about the 10mm is the 40 Smith & Wesson is very anemic. As a matter of fact, it is the 38 special of pistol cartridges as compared to the 10mm. Now next I'm going to show you the 45 ACP, the Warhorse. And in the DPX loading, it's a very very good self-defense round. And this is a 165 grain bullet. I'm sorry, it's a 185 grain bullet. Can't read my own writing. And it has 1,075 feet per second velocity with 470 foot-pounds of energy. Okay, that's the Corbon DPX. Now the Speer Gold Dot version of this bullet, 230 grain. It's 189 feet per second with 404 foot-pounds of energy. And at 100 yards, it's moving along at 805 feet per second with only 331 foot-pounds of energy. All right, and that represents three of the most popular self-defense rounds. Now we'll talk about the 10mm. Now the 10mm in this very same loading, and I have a box of it right here, shows you a 155 grain bullet moving at 1,200 feet per second and 496 foot-pounds of energy. Okay, well that's quite an increase in foot-pounds of energy. But this is modern ammunition. Or I shouldn't say modern ammunition, this is new ammunition. Okay. It seems like over the years the 10mm lost a lot of its energy compared to what it was first loaded as in this Norma box right here. And if you remember, it was 1,300 feet per second with 636 foot-pounds of energy. And it has dropped all the way down to 496 foot-pounds of energy with a much lighter bullet. So it looks like the 10mm was, destined to just be an also ran type cartridge. It was on its way out. It was fading away. Then comes Double Tap. And Double Tap was a company that first started making nothing but 10mm ammunition. And it brought the 10mm, the original 10mm velocities and foot-pounds of energy back to the table. Okay, and it is pretty much exclusively what I use. Now here's an example right here of a Double Tap. This is also a 155 grain Barnes TAC XP, and if you look with the 10mm DPX, it is virtually the same bullet. It is a lead-free copper jacketed bullet. Okay, copper hollow point, I should say. But this moves at 1400 feet per second, and it has an amazing 675 foot-pounds of energy. And at 50 yards, it's still moving along at 1281 feet per second with a very stout 564 foot-pounds of energy. Now, as a defensive load, this is a pretty powerful round. Now, next up is one of my favorite cartridges, but I don't think Double Tap is making this anymore. They changed the bullet. And this is the 165 grain Spear. Okay, and this is moving along at 1400 feet per second with 718 foot-pounds of energy. Okay, and at 100 yards, this is 1175 feet per second with 506 foot-pounds of energy. Now, the bullet that they're using now, it looks like a Remington Golden Saber, and it has the same basic ballistics. And all these ballistics you can check very easily on the internet. I went to the manufacturers of the ammunition to get the ballistics. Now, next up is a round that I pretty much use as my hunting round. This is another Double Tap round, and this is a 200 grain controlled expansion jacketed hollow point. And it moves at 1250 feet per second, and it has 694 foot-pounds of energy. Now, at 100 yards, it's still moving along at 1083 feet per second with 521 foot-pounds of energy with a 200 grain jacketed hollow point here. This has been an excellent hunting load for me. Now, I have on the way some even bigger rounds. A 200 grain lead cast bullet that really has a lot of knockdown power. I hope it shoots well in one of my 10mm, but we'll wait and see. I won't give you those ballistics because I haven't even tested the ammo yet. So as you can see, by a simple comparison, the 10mm is an outstanding pistol cartridge. Now, about 7 or 8 years ago, I even had a revolver that was in 10mm, and I don't know why, but it was a Smith & Wesson, and I really just couldn't get that gun to shoot very well for me. I'm sure that it might have just been that gun. I haven't given up on it. I think I may try another one sometime soon. But the 10mm cartridge was definitely made for the semi-auto. It was definitely made to be a pistol cartridge, and in my opinion, it's the perfect pistol cartridge. In some of its lighter loadings, it makes for a devastatingly powerful defensive load one could carry. If you carry a full-size 1911 45, you would get an immense power upgrade by shifting to a 10mm 1911. And as a hunting cartridge, it's without compare to your basic self-defense loads. Now, there are some other very powerful and very good cartridges out there, like 460 Roland, for instance, or 440 Corbon, but those are specialty cartridges, and in my opinion, they're still wildcats, and they're not mainstream yet. And we don't have several guns and several bullet manufacturers to get enough guns into people's hands to see how they're going to do. I know these guns perform well for me. They have performed well against deer-sized game. They've performed well against black bear here in Virginia, and that's what I can speak to. It's an excellent cartridge, and I think folks should give it a little bit more consideration when they're looking for a powerful handgun round, especially in a pistol. Alright, well, that's my video for 10mm cartridge. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to comment, and as always, shoot straight on the range and in life. Thanks.